So this part of the farm is a 12-acre farm, but we're dedicating this area for the worms. What you see in the background is a hoop house, and inside is where we're creating our new worm farm. So I collect about 500 pounds of coffee grounds every week. When you compost, remember I told you I bring coffee grounds from the coffee local Starbucks? Right. So I mix it because in order to compost you need nitrogen and carbon, right? So when you bring coffee comes from a plant, you're getting a lot of nitrogen. And the carbon comes from other sources like the hay, etc. So those two coming together, it creates a nice synergistic effect, meaning it's going to get much hotter, much quicker. So look, it's 150 degrees and it was right now. So I could leave this alone, but in order to expedite the composting process, I am going to turn it with my fork. So I mix it because in order to compost, you need nitrogen and carbon, right? So when you bring coffee comes from a plant, you're getting a lot of nitrogen. And the carbon comes from other sources like the hay, etc. So, okay. So just by moving a little bit, you'll see it in a minute. What I'm doing is I'm bringing air into that pile, okay? So when I do that, okay, I think you're gonna start seeing a little bit of smoke, or that's actually water vapor. So another thing, when you see that, I think you can see it right now.
Yeah, you definitely can.
All right, and it's super hot. If you stand right here, it's 150 degrees. Now, I don't waste water because water is such a commodity and it's precious for all of us. So I really don't have to, I really don't use much water because that's why I use that big plastic. When I cover it, all the water that is already there is going to actually, that's all I need.
So the condensation is enough?
Absolutely. If you put too much water, you actually ruin the pile.
Okay.
Because as you know, the pieces are not perfect, so there are little voids, little spaces in between. And when we do that, you need to have those spaces for air to go right through it. If you put too much water, you're going to saturate that. There's not enough water, not enough space, and the pile will go bad on you.
Oh, okay.
Right? So,
so aerating,
yep,
condensation, heat from
yep,
the sun.
Yep,
And
that's all you need.
It makes the magical worm bed.
That's right.
Worm house.
This eventually, when it's ready, and right now it's taking us about, if you do it the right way, in less than 2 months, you can have the most wonderful organic compost. You can use it directly into your plants, or you can get yourself some worms. We'll get you some worms so you can get going, and you can have a little worm bed and take care of your garbage at home. Junk mail that you get at home, don't just throw it away. Just remove the plastic little window. That will be the only waste that you produce, and get yourself a nice shredder, and the shredder will get you the best food for your worms. So the whole point is, let's create an environment in which we reduce our waste in our homes, in our communities, and that way we have a better, as a result, what they give us back, the worms are amazing. What they give us back is the most amazing organic fertilizer. No chemicals, they're high in a lot of biology. So,
let me understand you. So if we take our junk mail, remove the plastics from it, and shred that paper, the worms will actually be able to live on that.
Absolutely, but
including the kitchen waste minus the citrus, onion, and garlic.
Correct. The good thing is that when you get that shredded paper and you soak it overnight and you give it to the worms, it's like you're giving candy to a kid. Absolutely love it. And if you have any cardboard, now everybody orders things from Amazon, and all those boxes that you get, we are crowding our landfill and we're running out of space. And a good solution is for us to reduce that, and you have to start at home. We need about a pound of garbage every week. And our goal is to actually take garbage and convert it into a better product. We also use steer manure, but now because we didn't know Fallbrook that well, we just moved out here a couple months ago. Now we're going to start using local horse manure to make sure that that manure doesn't go to the landfill, and we can take all that manure and kind of compost it, make it into a yummy dinner for the worms, and they will convert it back to the community into an incredible organic fertilizer that you can use for your tomatoes and your flowers, your trees, everything around.
Excellent.
So let's move this way. Here's of the coffee ground. So this is just coffee grounds that would have gone to the landfill, right? So now we mix the food for the worms, the steer manure, the peat moss, the composted horse manure, all of that, we put it together, and then we wet it and we make it into a nice, just imagine like mashed potatoes, nice and mushy and kind of yummy, right? And they eat it all. So in the present, what you see right here is just the beginning of a worm farm again. I was the largest worm farm certified organic in San Diego County for many years. But I took a break a few years, put things, kind of dedicated my life to other things like playing jazz and having fun. But my heart and our vocation is really with worms.
So you're a jazz musician as well?
Yes, I play with the Moonlight Serenade. It's a band in San Diego. We will be in at the Oregon Pavilion on August 19th at 6 o'clock.
Exciting.
Yeah. Here are some boxes, and the boxes are covered. The reason we do that, as you can see, you don't see any flies, there's no mosquitoes, it doesn't smell like anything, but it's absolutely nice and clean. But I don't want to attract any flies. So that's why I cover this with this mesh. This mesh is just like the one you use for your screen door. So I'm going to show you, as you can see here, you're going to see some boxes that don't have any light. And then right here, you see some lights on top of the boxes. And you might be wondering, how come some do and some don't? The reason being is because we have two types of worms. Ones are called the most common ones, which are the red wigglers. Everybody knows red wigglers, right? The scientific name for the red wigglers is the Esaena foetida. Foetida means, it's a Latin word, but it means kind of fetid. What that means is that when they're stressed out, they kind of ooze something out that is kind of yucky, and so predators won't eat them. That's what the name comes from, Esaena foetida.
Like a skunk worm.
Kind of like but remember, worms are very interesting. I'm going to show you right now some of the Esaena foetida, and then I'll show you the European nightcrawlers. So let's open this here. So if you see right here, it's nice and smooth. It's because they've ate everything. But if you kind of view gently, you're going to see lots of worms. Okay, that's your friend. He's going to eat all the garbage that you don't use at home. You're going to take the worms, and they're red wigglers.
Show me your little friends.
Okay, so you see all that waste, look, they're converting into nice, wonderful worm castings. Okay, these are already full grown. Oh, I'm sorry about that.
So this is the red wiggler.
These are the red wigglers, the tiny little ones, but if you can see that, they're so happy here. Look at that, they just love to be here, and they're eating.
So tickling my
notice that it's nice and fluffy right now because they're aerating the soil. So that's what worms do. They actually go into the ground and they make lots of tunnels and aerate so the roots of the plants can go deep down and get all the nutrients. Now, if you go and look here, it starts getting a little bit thicker, right? So you don't see, these worms tend to stay on top, okay? They stay up on top of the beds. So they move up. So as you feed them, they can move up and up. So as you can see here, you don't see as many worms, right? That's because that's the final product. And I'm gonna show it to you. That's the best worm castings you can get. You can get them right here from the deep, and you see there are a few worms there, but if you go, look at the difference in consistency. This is nice and fluffy, right? And look at this one. If I go like that, it stays together. That's the worm casting. So what we do is that we remove the worms, the top layer of the beds right out of here. And then what happens and then whatever, when the worms are not, say thank you, when they're back in, we move the worms, and then the thick part of it, when it's ready to go, that's the final product. Right now they have to be, remember, worms don't have any lungs, they breathe through their skin, so they have to be very, very kind of nice and wet. Now I want you guys,
a question real
yes,
quick about the worm's digestive. Can you explain to her? Because she said, how is it that they can poop when they're so skinny and long?
well, I'm going to show you all that, but I want you to continue holding the little one, the red wiggler, because I'm going to show you a much bigger worm in a minute, okay? So hold that one, okay? Would you like to keep holding one? See, okay, so let's put it back, all right? So they're nice and wet in there, and then we're going to cover it now. Thank you.
I think it's amazing how there's like, I've seen one fly since I've been over here.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Now, I'm going to show you now. These are, okay, are you guys ready for some big, big worms?
Yes. Yes.
Come here. Just look at this. Oh, look at how big. It is big. Oh, this is called the European nightcrawler. It's much bigger. So, do me a favor. May I have that little tiny one? Come here, red wiggler. This is a red wiggler. This is the most common one. Now, we're trying to promote this guy. Look at this guy. This guy is at least four times bigger than the regular red wiggler. This is called the European nightcrawler. The scientific name for this is the Eseina hortensia. So what happens, do you remember when I said red wiggler? The red wiggler is also an Eseina, right? So they are both from the same species but different family, right? So they're kind of related, but this one is much, much bigger, and it's a little bit more delicate to work with. That's why we have the lights, because remember the name is European night crawler. What does that tell you? Night crawler.
He's very alive at night.
Oh, he loves to go out at night and go into town and go dancing. He does all kinds of stuff. So what you see here is we put these lights, and if you put the lights, they say, oh, no, they don't like the lights, so they don't go anywhere. That's why. Those over there don't need any lights, but these do. Since this is a much bigger worm, I'm going to show you a little bit of how they eat, okay? So as you can see, you see that little ring in there?
Yeah.
Okay. That's the clitellum, okay? So what that means is right there, okay, the worm, that means this is an adult worm. Let's see if you can get a cocoon. Now, what happens is this is their mouth, because the clitellum is much closer to the mouth, and this is the other end. Okay, worms happen to have, they're both boys and girls. In other words, they have both sexes. They are called hermaphrodites. In other words, they don't reproduce themselves. They need another worm to kind of exchange information, genetic information. And what happened is that two worms, they get jointed at that ring. It's called the clitellum, and then they're together like this for about an hour, and they exchange genetic information. And as they move away from it, they form a cocoon where all the eggs are, and the eggs are fertilized inside that cocoon. Right? We're going to see if we can show you an egg in a minute. See if I can find one.
Like, it's different than the butterflies, because the butterflies raise caterpillars and eggs, and then also they turn a caterpillar, and then also the other caterpillars grow into a butterfly.
Yeah.
Could she hold one of the big ones?
Of course. Would you like to hold a big one? There you go. Would you like a big one too? Here. And one more for you. Let me see if I can find you a quick cocoon.
So let's look at your worms, guys. Camille, come over, but bring your hands here.
Look at my colors.
So now he explained to us that they're both sexes,
Did you find one?
right? Whoa, get him!
Did you find one?
Get him! He's jumping away,
thank
huh?
This one's cool.
You can get him. You can get him. It's not going to hurt you. He doesn't bite.
This one has rainbow colors on it.
It's really neat. Now they're both sexes, so that means that once they do their little dance, they create an egg
This is
sac.
what create. They call a
Oh,
cocoon. You
look.
can see it right here.
Look at.
You see, it's tiny. You see the cocoon? See, it looks like a little ball. You see it right there? Okay, but now check what color is that cocoon?
What
It's a
color
little
is it?
brownish, right?
Yeah.
So when they lay the egg, it's actually olive color. But as they're gonna hatch, they turn brown. Okay, and now this egg, this cocoon, there's about 12 little eggs in there, but about 2 or 3 become worms. And for this worm, the big one that you just touched, this one,
Just get a still.
for
real
this
fast.
one,
Can I get a still real quick? Just still. I'm gonna get a still.
so these worms, as you can see, they lay an egg, a cocoon like this, every 29 days. Whereas the little red wigglers, they lay a cocoon every 21 days, just like a chicken, right? So the red wigglers about 2 to 4 hatch in, every 21 days. For these ones, only about 1 to 2 every 29 days. So it takes a little bit longer to for them to reproduce. Now, also, you see, I told you guys that this, I'm gonna put that little cocoon back there, so there'll be some little nice little wormies there. Okay, so I told you that this, every single ring that you see in a worm, though, is a pair of kidneys. Okay, so they actually don't have a heart. They have 4 kind of valves. They're very, like, let's call them rudimentary hearts, but they're actually valves, and they have a very nice and very complex circulatory system. They have a kind of like a vein that goes on the top. It's called the anterior, and it comes back on the bottom, which is called the posterior, right? So that's how they, what happened is that, remember, that's the mouth, and they don't have any teeth. So they grab everything in there, and then they have a little crop, a little sac, just like a chicken, and they put it in there. It's called a crop. And then right after that little crop, there's another little bag. It's called a gizzard, just like a chicken. And that gizzard, that it just gets the food and kind of works as they were the teeth, right? And then they use about 10 to 15% of what they eat, and then the rest they put it into the earth as worm castings. And that's how worms work.
Now, what's a worm casting?
Worm casting is basically worm poop.
Oh, and
Yeah.
that's the stuff that we love. That's the golden stuff
Yeah,
that
exactly.
keeps our earth fertilized.
Some people call it worm castings, vermicompost, or black gold, or just
black
simply
gold. There you go.
worm
That's
poop.
what my grandfather used to call it. I remember.
So each bed, you're supposed to have, let's say, for every square foot. So a square foot is 1 foot this way, 1 foot this way, 1 foot this way. For every square foot, we have about 1 pound of worms. Okay. So because these are much bigger, as you can see, these are way bigger. These are much bigger. It's much easier to make a pound, right?
Oh, for
So
sure.
only about 360 of these big worms will be a pound, whereas for the little red wigglers, about 1,000 to 1,200. So a lot more of them to make a pound. But either one will make you a pound of worms. Again, we'll eat about a pound of garbage every week.
So for a family of 4 or 5 people,
Yes.
you should have 1 pound at least.
At least one. I would suggest start with 1 to 2 pounds, because there's so many things. You don't see any worms on the ground. You don't see any dirt. It's because it's taken me many years to figure out how to take care of them.
We are the Worm Whisperers, turning trash into treasure, and we hope you'll join us. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, or our website at www.thewormwhisperers.com.
That's awesome. And we're going to say goodbye to your little friends.
So say goodbye to the worms, your friends.
Goodbye.
Say bye, wormies.
Bye, wormies.
Bye, wormies.
Awesome.
Eventually, this will be a place where you can come and have bring you lunch and have a picnic under the oak grove.
Oh, this is absolutely stunning.
Come and visit us. I'll give you 1 oak tree to take home so you can grow your own oak tree at home.